Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Technology Magazine show. The show brought to you by Technology Magazine and BizClik right here on LinkedIn. You can leave comments live with us and also ask questions through the comments feed as we go. So please feel free to do so. My name is Alex Tuck. I'm the editor in chief of Technology Magazine, and I'll be bringing you regular updates from the world of technology. Joining me is our AI Magazine editor, Catherine Gray. Good to see you, Catherine. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Alex. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
Yeah, fine, fine. I was lucky enough to attend the F1 practice day on Friday at Silverstone, which was pretty mind blowing. To look at the work undertaken by the McLaren F1 team and Ultrix. So there'll be more to come on that exciting story in a couple of issues' time on Technology Magazine. But yeah, it was a shame not to have you at the Technology Live London event a couple of weeks ago, Catherine. But I heard you were in a field somewhere in Glastonbury, right?
I was. It was a shame to miss it. I would have loved to attend, but obviously, no one can be in two places at once. I had a really good time though. The atmosphere was really good, as I've heard it was at our event as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a little bit less muddy at our event. When I went to Glastonbury, it was really muddy, and tents were like surfing down the hills and stuff. And so I was glad that we camped on high ground rather than at the bottom of the hill. But I remember my calves being on fire for
Yeah.
quite a long time in the week after I got back. It just God, it was hard work. But did you have a dry weather then?
Yeah, I mean, I just about recovered from a very pink nose, so it's a good job that our show was this week and not last week. It was very sunny.
Amazing. Well, I've been reliably informed by my mother, no less. Shout out to Paula Tuck, by the way. That the British Grand Prix was attended by over 400,000 people over the course of last weekend. And I think Glastonbury's around 200,000, if I'm not mistaken. Did you see anything interesting there? Any fire breathing tech or stage wizardry there at all, Catherine?
Well, there was a lot of fire. Paul McCartney's set was full of fire, which was quite surprising. But there was actually a robot there called Ida. She was the artist in residence. So this is a robot that paints different pictures. And before the festival kicks off, she'd actually done a portrait of all the headliners. So the robot uses cameras in her eyes and her computer memory to paint portraits, and they are really, really good. Actually, I mean, they're better than anything I could do. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too, I'm sure. Amazing, amazing. I mean, it reminds me of that cover that you signed off on the last issue of AI magazine
Yeah.
with the incredible artwork of AI. This is just it's just ridiculous. I still have to pinch myself that computers or artificial intelligence is producing these things. It just I can't get my head around it. It's amazing. I had a conversation with someone at the Tech Live event, and we were talking about the fact that we're probably arrogant enough to think that they'll never be able to replicate our emotions and things like music and stuff and sort of the spontaneity of music. But I mean, to be honest, when you get original things in music, for example, and you get two disparate things, you put it together and create something new. Why can't a computer do that? So when it starts creating things like especially with music by itself, I think that's when I'm going to start really getting scared. But anyway, of course it's a positive thing, and but we do need to look into the ethics of these things, of course. And I mean, Kanos, one of the event sponsors, talked about that in one of their speeches in terms of the trustworthiness in AI and how it's an ethical responsibility for people to for the whole industry, for everyone really to safeguard this stuff. So yeah, but we could talk about that forever. But let's talk about what's coming up on today's show. So basically, we've got some speaker highlights from the Tech Live event coming up in terms of some of the things that I thought stood out. We've also got a special guest, Amir Abdelazim from Detacon Consulting, who was also present at the event, and he's vastly experienced in the world of telecommunications, a major figure in the Middle East and in Africa in terms of a lot of the telcos over there, but he's a really influential player in the technology scene. So really looking forward to talking to him, and also We'll be finishing with, we'll be looking at the AI stories from Catherine's perspective, and also we'll be looking at tech that takes you back to where we'll be going back to school. So, but yeah, so in regards to just looking at the AI stories first, actually, Catherine, what have you got for us today as your first story?
So this story is quite a recent one that I did for AI Magazine, and it's looking at the benefits of AI for the customer journey. So something that I kind of find a lot is when we're looking at companies that have implemented AI, they like to list all these benefits that they've got, and a big one is an improved customer experience. But I think it's important to expand on that a little bit and kind of learn what different elements of the customer experience will it benefit. But what I found was most interesting was the final point. So if it is possible just to scroll down a little bit on that article, the final point is empowering human interactions. And I think that's really interesting because a lot of people obviously have that worry that AI is there to replace humans, when actually it's a real complementary tool to empower these interactions with humans and actually add more value to them. So I thought that was kind of really interesting, and it's a good kind of way to show that no, AI isn't here to replace things. It's actually there to act as a partner and complement those human interactions that we all love to have. So that's my first story. And my second story is a news story, and it was good because I've not done one of these for a while. So Sunlight IO announced the support for the NVIDIA Jetson Edge AI platform and the Lenovo SE70 platform with its beta program that will essentially make Edge AI deployable at scale. So it's really good for application developers, this announcement, because basically it will help these developers who need to run efficient, manageable AI at the edge. Sunlight do a lot with NVIDIA, so it is a really good announcement, and I'm sure a lot of developers will be pleased to have heard that. So I think it's at the moment, obviously it's still in its early days and they will need to apply to be part of the program, but I do think it's one that a lot of people will be rushing to apply for.
NVIDIA, they're absolutely massive, aren't they, in terms of their scale? I mean, like, I guess you've done quite a few stories on those guys, right?
Yeah, definitely. The gaming ones I always find the most interesting, but obviously there's a lot more to the company than that.
Yeah, they've well, they'll be. I think they're coming up in our latest magazine as well, tech magazine. So yeah, look out for them. And we've got a poll. We've gone for a bit of a sort of a well, I wouldn't say. I guess it's controversial in the way, I suppose. But what is the subject of our poll today, Catherine?
Yeah, I think you could say it's controversial. So in the news at the moment, Amazon's Alexa is learning how to mimic a loved one's voice. And I think it can mimic the voice of those who are deceased. So we've asked our readers today, do you think that technology has gone too far? So obviously, yes, no, and haven't made my mind up yet, because obviously I think it is quite a moral kind of dilemma. This is that something that people are happy to see, and so some people are obviously still debating that. It's similar to those holograms. I think that you've seen that there's been Kim Kardashian, I think Kanye West did a hologram of her dad for her 40th birthday. Obviously, he died quite a few years ago now. So I think it kind of brings that moral dilemma into question of, is it okay to mimic someone's voice if they've passed away?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
I think it's sort of the rights of the dead, that kind of thing, isn't it? I mean, it's a fascinating topic because it's yeah. Where do you stand on it, Catherine?
Personally, I think it's going too far. I think for me, I just think if someone has passed away, they are then not able to give any permission of if they would want that used or not. And for us right now living, we get that choice when we go on websites. Do you want us to share your data? Yes or no? So if we're given that choice, and that's a choice that is a legal requirement, I think that should permeate through life and death. For me, it doesn't sit right.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, that the idea of the rights of the deceased. I mean, I was listening to this Elvis remix the other day, and I thought to myself, he'd be turning in his grave if he heard this right now. Honestly, like the things that they've done with it's like we can't go on together with suspicious minds, and then like they've added in this lyric. something about flying away or something. This didn't really make any sense, and I just thought, what are you doing to Elvis' song here? So maybe the Elvis estate of a brood, I don't know. But anyway, just moving on to a couple of highlights from my side, from the technology side. So and if you can bring up the first tech story. So I had the privilege of hosting one of the stages at the live event, which was amazing, and we had some cracking people turn up. I didn't actually realise. So we had to talk about 5G connected forests, and it was about Nottinghamshire County Council and the amazing work they were doing with 5G, and how to make sort of forests more sustainable, and sort of the way they monitor it, how leaf coloration and stuff, and the fact that they can sort of see, they can predict an awful lot from all these drones and all this kind of stuff. But they also had, as you can see in this picture, these robotic dogs that sort of patrolled around the forest, and they gave a performance. I didn't even know they were going to be there, and they gave an incredible performance. Or the person controlling them gave an incredible performance of that, because you might recognize these dogs from Boston Dynamics, and they seem to be rolled out, across the world now, and it was fascinating. One of the dogs did a little sort of a little pitter patter on the stage, which made quite sort of a creepy little sort of echo around the room, and then he got it to do it louder and louder and louder, and it built up, and it sounded almost quite aggressive, and then it started doing backflips and rolls, and I'm sure I remember seeing a Black Mirror episode about dogs and sort of patrolling around and stuff, and it's definitely, it's hard not to look at it and think this is quite, it's amazing, and everyone had their phones out and was taking pictures, but it was also quite scary as well. So I guess maybe that's the sweet spot, isn't it, when it comes to new technology, in terms of it's scary but it's fun, and it's a bit like a theme park, really, I suppose. But so some amazing speakers on the first day, from consultancies, people talking about data centers, and the fact that they could spring up all around us, rather than just be these huge sort of bulk sites, that there'll be portable data centers or mobile data centers integrated into our environment and that kind of thing. So all kinds of interesting stuff. And then we had an amazing sort of discussion on diversity at the end, with the lady from Accenture, and also Jerin from Nottinghamshire County Council as well. So that was amazing to talk about that, because we also had the March 8 stage that was talking about STEM and women in technology. So it was good to spread that message across the stages. And moving on to day 2, we also had I had another great roster of speakers as well, including my favourite part of the day was actually how it closed, because we had a quite open discussion on 5G in one of the panel discussions, and it was talking about all different types of things, from sort of how to commercialize 5G and sort of how do you make money out of this, and things like what happens when they switch 4G off or 3G off. There are some areas of the country, for instance, that still run on this technology, and if you were to switch it off, then suddenly how does that work in terms of do other mobile operators sort of swallow up those customers? And so there's lots of interesting sort of talks about sustainability as well, in terms of like reusing mobile phones, and I know we've worked at BizClik with some companies. I think there's one called Back Market. Is that right? Does that sound familiar to you, Catherine? Back
Market, yeah. I did the Back Market interview, the refurbished mobile phones. They're doing, I mean, it's really impressive what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely check out Catherine's article, because it's amazing. I knew there was a plug in there somewhere. I just had to. I wasn't 100% sure, but sort of sure. But yeah, but amazing discussions, and it was a really open forum. The audience got to ask questions through the Brella app, and also obviously the live audience got to ask questions too. So an amazing experience again, and a real privilege to be there. And Amir, who was on the panel at the end of day 2, is going to join us very shortly after the break. So he has some amazing things to say on the sort of where the technology is going, and he's got some incredible experience. So I'm looking forward to introducing him later. But just to whet your appetite, we're going to have a little break now. We're going to play a video that we made for Mobile Magazine featuring Amir, and he's in his previous role at AsiaCell. He's now in a different role today, but it'll give you a good idea of his background and the kind of thing he's going to be talking about with us. So yeah, please roll the video, Ernie. Thank you.
Being part of a number one operator, customers are already expecting the impossible from you. We have designed our journey into digital transformation based on 2 pillars. 1, we must give our customer a reliable service. 2, it has to be customer-centric. Then we started an ambitious program of restructuring everything we do to become the digital partner that every Iraqi customer looks for. Talking about digital transformation, you cannot leave away the connectivity. During the last year and this year, we made sure that there is actually 3G service on every site of AsiaCell. We made sure that we are fully ready for the 4G journey. Now we are bringing a lot of new technologies. We're bringing a lot of investments into the network. So that started the next axis of the digital transformation. And changing the mindset from the nowadays operators, we are not managing the network. We are managing the tools that manage the network. That actually brings 2 things to the team. Some of them will feel that we're not required for that anymore. And some of them will get activated and engaged and seeing the challenge and the motivation in that. Those were good. You just need to direct them right. Those, you need to actually upskill them and engage them and say, no, it's not that this type of technology is fading away. It's actually this type of technology is being updated for you. Now join and be part of that. Instead of you looking at the network alarms with this view, you will start looking at it with this view. We are taking you to the future with that and upskilling you there. You cannot do that without changing the mindset and culture.
Welcome back to the show. So that's a little insight into our special guest today. So Amir is a senior telecoms executive and currently expert partner at Telecom International, as well as a whole host of amazing telcos that he serves in the Middle East and Africa. Amir has also worked for Nokia Siemens Networks, Etisalat, Alcatel, and Orange too. So hopefully he's backstage right now, and we can speak to him. Amir, hello, how are you?
Wonderful. Yeah, you brought me up to very nice memories of Ooredoo Iraq. It was nice to see that. So, how was your day? Wonderful talk, Catherine. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're normally we have a host of the show. So we do it as 3 of us, but we're now moving into a streamlined duo. So yeah, you'll have to forgive us if we make any crazy mistakes. But we're doing our best, and it's great to have you. So Amir, obviously, I had the privilege of speaking with you and sharing a drink with you at the event. Just for our audience, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and sort of how you got into the position you got today? I know you've got an extensive background, so if we could try and sort of keep it to a nutshell, it's difficult, but yeah, if you just tell us a little bit about
Let's try. So I'm Egyptian. That's normally I would love to start with that. So I'm born and brought up in Egypt. I was born in Alexandria. and graduated from Alexandria University, engineering and communication, like 2003, almost 20 years ago now. And then afterwards, I started actually my career in a completely different industry, by the way. I started in oil industry and then moved to telecommunication industry. My first job was Orange, and then I moved to Alcatel, that became later Nokia now, but nowadays, and then moved to Etisalat, where we had a very interesting journey, pre-launching a new operator in Egypt, and like launching an operator in Egypt is an experience on its own. And then moved out of Etisalat to an African journey. It wasn't my first time in Africa, but I started in Mozambique. Before that, I was in Nigeria with Alcatel, and we also started a very interesting operator there. And then I moved to Africa with Nokia Siemens, in Mozambique, Tanzania. I was mainly responsible to Vodafone accounts in Middle East and Africa. That took a while with me, and then I moved into an interesting role with Millicom Group, that I was taking care of strategic quality, or what's equivalent to a chief quality officer and customer experience related topics around the whole customer journey. And then from that time, I started going into my executive roles, where my first role was in Rwanda as a CTIO for Tigo, the commercial name for Millicom Group in Africa. And following that, Ghana, where it also was a very interesting time in Ghana, because we were merging with Airtel there, and two different schools of thinking between Airtel Group, with a very rooted Indian culture, international arm of India in the telecommunication, Millicom, with a very different Scandinavian culture and an international brand on the operators from Sweden. Putting these cultures together was a very good learning experience for me, and I think we have done well creating Airtel Tigo at this time. And then after that, I moved to Ooredoo Group, where I had a very interesting role as well in Iraq to rebuild the country after the war. And we had a whole damaged part of the country due to the war. We had also a whole nation that was hungry actually for development in reality, like coming out of the war, and perception was different. The team sensitivity to everything was different. And then we ended up in 3 years, we have taken actually Ooredoo Iraq from ranked 137 in the world on internet quality to 65. And that was a collective work of the team through a big transformation. That's the time when that video was actually filmed. Now I'm in Detecon International. I'm an expert partner there. And Detecon International is the technology management and strategy consulting arm of Deutsche Telekom Group. And that gives it a very special flavor, where it's coming out of telco, hands-on, one of the biggest groups in the world for telecommunication. And then we are exporting this experience of Deutsche Telekom together with different experience from the region into Middle East and Africa. And amazing work with mega cognitive cities in the Middle East, or telecom groups like MTN, Telecom Egypt, Etisalat, and so on. Happy to be with the team, and the team is very proactive and hungry for the future to get things done. So I hope I made it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. I mean, I don't envy you having to summarize your experience. It's not easy. I remember introducing you on stage, and it took about 5 minutes to reel off your biography. So yeah. So in terms of, you're obviously you're from Egypt, but you live in Germany. You work a lot in the Middle East and Africa, but you've worked with Scandinavian and German telcos, and obviously Nokia as well. So I mean, you really are just you're a global telco executive, really, aren't you? In terms of what's your focus at the moment? Are you working on specific projects, or are you still focused in the Middle East and Africa?
So being part of Detecon actually gives you a global experience within a lot of things. So we have, I think, different shades of programs within Detecon, like starting from European Union regulations for autonomous cars, or building a smart city in the desert in Saudi Arabia, or being part of transformation that is happening in telecom groups in Latin America. But my focus is Middle East and Africa, and of course we get some integrations with the team globally for what is needed. My focus is currently in I have 3-4 programs that we are following within Telecom Egypt and with the government of Egypt, in addition to Ooredoo Group, where I'm talking to you from Tunisia now, actually. So, we are here CEO advisory for the CEO for technology transformation for Ooredoo Tunisia.
And what's the weather like in Tunisia at the moment?
Fantastic. I would have asked you to do it from here.
Right, Catherine. Next show we're doing it live from Tunisia.
Well, I was in Tunisia a few weeks ago. It's lovely.
Oh god. So it's just me that hasn't been then. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, that's on me. I'll take care of that.
Oh, deal. Okay, we'll talk after the show. Perfect. There was one thing I noticed on one of your bio actually a bit. You describe yourself as a tough but fair leader, and I thought to myself when I initially read it before I met you, I thought, oh, what's this guy going to be like? Is he going to be sort of, puffing his chest out and going to be quite a serious man? But which you had authority, but I didn't think that you didn't come across as being tough. But what did you mean by that exactly in terms of how is your leadership style?
I actually think tough doesn't have to be serious and rigid, and you cannot be leading an organization, especially in telecommunication industry nowadays. For me, telecommunication is a life more than an industry. It's like touching everyone. When I count, I have worked in almost 35 markets. I've touched the internet connectivity of almost 1 billion people. And if you want to really put someone to go into the street and really feel the passion that he is doing this for a cause, you have to really first create this vision to the team. And the team has to buy on it. And then you have to have the connection with that team. So you make sure that the urge is happening. And they really know which goal they are facing for. They are belonging to you. And that style, which I think the nature of the projects or the missions that I have been in was in tough situation, more of a transformational manner. And in transformational manner, it's important to create the engagement, but it's also important to put the authority. And being tough in this situation is when we are agreeing that this needs to be done. And you move with the power of your legacy as well, that you know what you're talking about as a leader. You have the results behind you, you know your achievements, you create quick wins with the team. The team needs to upscale the game as well. So they have to be with you in the game. And you need to know that there is a praising and there is also punishment that will happen. And this gets a little bit of a moving inertia that moves across. And normally I think it moves in a wave. First 6 months is normally engagement, building the dream, seeing where's the World Cup or where is the Formula One that we will win, where is the game that we need to score. And then after that, when we start in the execution, you have to put the base on. You create the cadence. And that toughness, people need to have it in their mind. And it's very interesting. I'm not proud of it, but that's normally happens, that when part of the job that you let someone go. And it was very interesting conversation that a couple of people left my office, left their jobs, but they were smiling. And my colleagues outside, they were coming and say, man, he got fired and he's smiling. What is this? What did you tell him? And I was like, it's how you communicate it at the end. So, and I think this is where I like that to flavor this point, is that being tough to achieve in a quicker manner, that's important, but also the team needs to feel belonging to you, the loyalty to you, and the loyalty to the cause that they're after. So that's the concept.
Yeah, really, really good point. And just in regards to, I know that we discussed a little bit about your interest in startups and the startup world. Is that something you want to explore and sort of talk about at all? I mean, it's completely up to you, but like obviously you did mention an idea you had and that you're working on at the moment as a private venture. Would you like to discuss that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
let's. At the end of the day, being in the telco industry again, as I was saying, it's life. So it evolves with you. So being junior person, I used to always go and experience my network and experience the signal or the quality of the internet. And then with the evolution of the whole world around us, I had big fascination to let me experience every application that is being done. So I had the ritual in reality that every week on Saturday morning, I sit on my phone and start exploring the latest and the new applications being done. And by time, it created in my mind that in reality, our new customers are the entrepreneurs, startups. And I started build a bond towards this industry through a very interesting program we did in Rwanda. It was Think, where we started touching around new ideas and being an incubator, and stuck with me. So I've done a couple of startups in my life, and currently we're having Qualitech, and I'm also doing the new one is going to be called Innovatics, and it's more of bringing the startups to life in a quick mode. So what we notice now, many people are having their ideas. They're thinking about, I want to create an idea that can teleport people to the moon. Great. Let's break this into pieces. Let's make it a little bit doable. And let's take you to the moon at some point of time. But let's help you first kickstart this business and give you the knowledge of how to generate your cash, how to develop your business, how to create your own digital footprint, and be quickly as an existing organism. And people have this tendency that you keep thinking till you are ready. And what we're trying our flavor is, you know what? You have an idea? Great. Let's unbox it. Let's put you on the field. Swim. And we will be backing you with the ecosystem around you to help you to get in touch with experts or angel investors or different incubators that can really guide you through your startup idea and bring it to life. It's similar to let you wake up in the morning at 7 and go to the gym. Once you are in the gym, most likely you will train and you'll make something out of it. But while thinking that you want to go to the gym, yeah, it takes some time. So that's the whole flavor of actually really bringing the startups and come on, let's make it happen quick and easy and in affordable way and give you the ecosystems around it. So that's how I came to the connection with startups.
Yeah, as you said to me at the event, it's very much about letting them stay in their lane and be good at doing what they're good at and take care of the infrastructure around it so they don't have to worry about it, essentially.
It's actually about defining your cornerstone. What are you stepping on? Like, I want to do this application. So I'm stepping on something that I really know that is my strengths. So let's maximize it. Let's shine on it. Let's take it forward and let's move on with it. And then make it also exposed to the right people to take care of you and help you and take you to the next step. It doesn't help if you start somewhere that you really have no presence or corner to step in there.
Yeah, 100%. It's fascinating, really fascinating. I think there's several stories to come out of you, I think, Amir. So we're going to have to stay in touch. But that's all we've actually got time for. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Catherine, I apologise you didn't get to sneak in a question. I just realised what the time is. But that's because we're having so much fun, you see. That's the problem. It just flies. So, yeah, thank you so much. So, great. So we're now going to go in and play a little bit of tech that takes you back. Wow, I'm sure they've revamped that. Right, so the theme of today is that we're going to go back to school because I wanted to see I wanted to sort of float the idea of what the first computer was that we used when we went to school, and it took me a while to remember in the files cabinet of my brain what it actually was. But I'm not going to go first today. Actually, Catherine's going to go first today, and we're not going to be competitive. We're just going to showcase like a little show and tell. So, Catherine, what is your video?
Okay, so before Amy plays it, just a little disclaimer. Mine's technically not a computer, and I think some people might be shocked at how high tech it is. But essentially, I think in my younger years at school, we didn't tend to use computers. And when I was about 6, my class was the first classroom to get an interactive whiteboard. So if anyone wants to play a video, push the one that you think it is.
Great!
Yeah, good job.
It is so
Very good. So yeah, I remember being very excited to be the first classroom that got this. You've got like pens and like a rubber, so you can click it with your fingers. You can write on it with the different pens. I mean, the touchscreen itself was terrible. I think you'd write something and then 3 lines down it would write it. So it's nothing like an iPad or anything like that. The calibration on it isn't great, but I think for me that was kind of what took me back. Which I think is quite different to yours, Alex. But yeah, that's
well, it is, but it's. I mean, that's absolutely incredible, really. In terms of, I mean, I'm not quite sure exactly how it works in terms of the touch stuff. Do you know how it works?
Yeah, so well, it links to the computer, so the computer and the whiteboard show the same screen, so you can write on the whiteboard, but then it will go onto the computer screen as well. So it's essentially like a high-tech projector, but instead of it just being you projecting onto an actual whiteboard, the whiteboard itself is also the projector, I guess. I remember playing games. I do actually remember doing the clock game on it, because you used to have to drag the hands of the clock around with your finger. It was the pinnacle of excitement at 6 years old.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow, what a privileged 6-year-old you were. So did you actually have chalk and a blackboard at any point?
Yes, we had fold out chalkboards and they were just like colouring, but it was whiteboards and like whiteboard markers, I think, for me.
Yeah, which I guess is probably, well, yeah, they just changed the colour, didn't they? But I mean, I had blackboard markers at high school, but yeah, I definitely remember the old blackboards and the dusty blackboard rubbers. Put them down in this like puff of chalky smoke. There's something quite nice about it. I don't know. Or was there? Did we just romanticize our youth unnecessarily? I don't know. But speaking of romanticizing your youth, so my video goes all the way back to the dark days of 1991, and yeah, it is a computer. So I don't know whether any can find it to roll the video, but it's yeah.
What's going on, guys?
What a thing of beauty that is. I always remember, like, yeah, I mean, I had a floppy disk drive. Catherine, have you used floppy disk before?
No, the only thing I know about floppy disk is that is the save icon on a computer, but I have never actually used one myself.
Oh God, it's very funny doing this with someone from a different generation, because I just can't get my head around the fact that you've never used one of them before. But they did hold an awful lot of data on them. But yeah, you could transfer sort of files and images and stuff, but not very many. Yeah, we had this little game where we had to draw like a little mathematical game where this little you put some coordinates in. It's a bit like sort of amateur coding, really, but mathematical sort of what do you call it, algebra or whatever. But you sort of put coordinates in, really, for the little turtle, the little tortoise to follow, and then the little tortoise would then draw a picture from the coordinates and stuff. And I mean, it was painful at the time. So I can't imagine how children would find it these days. But I mean, the crazy thing is that most of us still probably don't fully understand the technology even inside that computer. So it's just blown up so much that it's now gone well beyond the realms of our sort of comprehension. But at least there was a sort of a base simplicity to that computer that kind of, it was very stripped back, and you could only do certain amount of things on it. So there were times where you just thought, you know what, the computer's taking too long. And before there didn't used to be there wasn't a color wheel then. There was a black and white wheel that would spin around, or they actually had a little hourglass that would rotate. The little sound you could see the little sounds of moving in it, but like, yeah, it was painful. There was a lot of waiting around for not really much of an end product. But I guess we all have to start somewhere, and so yeah, I started with the Macintosh Classic. So yeah, I wonder what they're retailing for now on eBay, and whether I mean they would be a fun project for someone to just take it apart, but I'm sure I'm not going to be one of those people that takes it apart. That's for sure. So right, brilliant. Well, that's all we've actually got time for on the show today. Thank you very much to our special guest Amir, and thank you so much, Catherine, for joining us again. And I'm glad you had such a nice time at Glastonbury. What was your highlight of Glastonbury, by the way?
Oh, it's got to be Paul McCartney. I went to university in Liverpool for 4 years. We share a birthday, so big Paul McCartney fan.
Amazing. Yeah, the set looks superb. I digress. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See you later.